Okay, well, it gives me great pleasure to first introduce Judy Havenstein, the lead person in the Havenstein household, to introduce the gubernatorial candidate.
Thank you. As Alan said, he has to remain neutral during this race. So I thought it would be appropriate for me to introduce my husband to you. Many of you he's met earlier this evening, but I know him better than anyone in this room. And it's my opinion that there's only one candidate in this gubernatorial race with the credibility, the character, and the credentials to lead our state through a very difficult time. And that's my husband, Walt Havenstein. Some people can pack an awful lot into a lifetime, and Walt has done just that. He has led Marines for 29 years, retiring as a colonel in the Marine Corps. He has led 2 defense industries, BAE Systems and SAIC, as a CEO, managing large budgets that always balance. He has been a leader in his community, a generous philanthropist, and I don't think there's anyone who loves New Hampshire more than Walt does, who's running for this race. He understands the problems, he knows how to tackle tough problems, and he has a 40-year career doing just that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to Belknap County's favorite son, the next governor, Walt Havenstein.
That's a tough act to follow. And I'm lucky enough to follow that every day. Judy and I met each other when we were 12 years old. And after dating each other through high school and through 4 years of college, after I graduated from the Naval Academy in Annapolis, and got commissioned in the United States Marine Corps, Judy and I got married. We've been together for 43 years now, so I feel very, very blessed to have had Judy at my side for those 43 years. So thank you, honey. I appreciate that introduction more than you can imagine. The idea, as Judy described me, let me give you a little bit more about my background, just so you know. I did spend 12 years in active duty in the Marine Corps, leading some of our nation's finest young men and women. It was certainly a career highlight for me. And I was fortunate enough, believe it or not to start off in the aerospace industry as a CEO. I started at the bottom of the aerospace industry food chain. I was a peddler. Right? I peddled electronics equipment, and because Judy was kind enough to and willing enough to move around the country, we had the opportunity to take on risks, both as career risks and family risks, and I was able to progress while I still stayed in the reserves and the Marine Corps Reserve, and still made progress in my industry career. 15 years ago, after having moved 16 times in 28 years, we landed in Bedford, New Hampshire. And I had the distinct pleasure and really an honor to work at one of the greatest companies in our country. It was a company called Sanders and Sanders Associates down in Nashua, New Hampshire. And at the time, Sanders was going through some pretty tough times. We're coming out of one of the worst declines in the aerospace industry, and actually we hadn't even hit bottom yet. And I was fortunate enough to assume the presidency of that company and lead that company with an extraordinary group of young people, engineers and leaders, to extraordinary prominence in our country. And at the same time, Lockheed Martin, who owned the company, decided to sell it. In fact, that was the first strategy session I had with the chairman, was my recommendation that they sell Sanders. And after 3 months, he threw me out originally. 3 months later, he came back and said, yeah, we're going to do that. And I led Sanders through that transition to a company called BAE Systems. I solicited the help of Senator Bob Smith at the time to allow us to be sold to a British company. And that's the only reason that company is in New Hampshire today. Had it not been sold to BAE Systems, those 4,000 employees would have left the state. And the nearly $500 million economic impact that company had within the state alone. That company continues to be here. It grew, and it grew to be one of the most prestigious defense electronics company in the world. And it retains that extraordinary legacy even today. And I was very, very proud to be part of that. I retired from BAE Systems 5 years ago, spent 2.5 years with another aerospace company as CEO of a Fortune 250 company called SAIC. Again, I was very, very proud to have the opportunity to serve with another group of extraordinary people. And 2 years ago, I retired. About a year ago, I found myself yelling at the TV. Typically, I hadn't been home in the evening between 6 and 7:30. I was still in the office. When I started coming home, I started watching cable news, and I really got upset. I got upset with what's happening to our country, and I got upset with what's happening to our state. And I thought back to when we got here. After having lived in California a couple times, in Florida a couple times, in New Jersey a couple times, and in Maryland and Virginia and North Carolina, and how fortunate I felt when we got here 15 years ago to live in a place that practiced democracy unlike any other place in our country. Frankly, that's why we fell in love with New Hampshire. Where live free or die was palatable. Where the New Hampshire advantage wasn't just no sales or income tax, but the New Hampshire advantage set us apart, significantly set us apart in stark contrast to every other state in the region when it came to economic development. When we got here in 1999, New Hampshire was ranked 14th in the country when it came to new business startups. Today, we're 35th. New business startups are important, folks, because new business startups form the basis for future economic growth for our state. And they also form the basis for the majority of private sector job creation. Came to a state where, after 3 straight decades of double-digit economic growth and job creation, we have now stagnated. Our job growth, albeit improving, is still significantly below where we were 15 years ago. And our economic growth, as reported just a few weeks ago for 2013, was 0.9%, down from 1.1% in 2012. And the governor would have you believe we're headed in the right direction. All it takes, this is not Common Core math, this is arithmetic. 3 more years and we'll be about 0. That is not the right direction for our state. And it's the result of practices, frankly, and policies established by the Democrats and a Democratic governor in 16 of the last 18 years in the corner office, of constantly putting the burden of growth and spending on the back of businesses in this state. That has got to change. And I applaud Sam and the other senators, Republican senators, because you have formed the firewall against irresponsible behavior by the Democrats in the House and the Democrats in the corner office. We have got to change that. We have an opportunity this year to do that like we haven't had in a while. The last 10 years have been squandered when it comes to the economic development of our state. Let me tell you what that's meant. That's meant for the last 6 years, we've actually had net migration of people out of our state. When we got here, people were coming into our state. Young people were coming into our state. I hired 1,000 of them at Sanders over 5 years. Today, they're leaving our state. The largest group of people leaving our state are between the ages of 35 and 55. We cannot have that continue. We cannot have our kids go through some of the finest education in the United States, in our high schools and our junior colleges, simply leave us. We cannot afford that. We cannot afford 2 more years of economic stagnation brought on by the Democrats and their policies. We cannot afford 2 more years of fiscal mismanagement by the Democratic governors. How could you ever think you could establish a budget with $80 million of casino revenue when the casino didn't even exist? Let me tell you something. I know what happens to CEOs who do that. You don't last a CEO for very long. And frankly, her conduct in the corner office is rule for indictment and firing. We cannot afford 2 more years of Maggie Hassan. And we need everybody's help to make sure she does not come back to the corner office. The other thing we need to make sure starts happening again in this state is choice. Choice in health care. At Sanders, when we got taken over by BA Systems, it was a pleasant takeover. It wasn't a hostile takeover because it was the best result for us there in Nashville. But the folks at BA Systems wanted us to all go on a BA Systems corporate-wide healthcare plan. A one-size-fits-all healthcare plan. I opposed that. I got in a lot of trouble for opposing it. But I told the people in England and in Maryland who are our corporate leaders, I said, you do not understand New Hampshire. People in New Hampshire equate choice to freedom. And when we don't have choice, we believe our freedoms are taken away, whether it's in education, health care, grocery stores. Choice is freedom for us. And I put my job on the line and said, if you force us to make that kind of indiscriminate decision, I can't stay and lead. Fortunately, they allowed me to continue. And we kept Harvard Pilgrim in the state. We were the largest customer for Harvard Pilgrim, and that's the reason they're in the state today. And going to expand over the next couple of years. Freedom is important. We have every opportunity this fall to change the direction of our state. We have every opportunity to roll back some of the regulations that have been started to be rolled back that Sam talked about. We have more to do. We need to improve our corporate rate structure, tax rates. We are 48th in the nation, uncompetitive in our region. Those economic growth indicators I gave you a few minutes ago, 1.1 in 2012, 0.9 in 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, we have fallen behind Vermont and Rhode Island, arguably one of the worst managed states in the country. I don't hope it didn't offend anybody. That's an embarrassment. What's caused that are over-regulations and tax burdens on our businesses, and we need to turn that around. We can do it. It didn't happen to us overnight. It happened to us gradually. Sam talked about the 101 new fees. What he didn't talk about were all the regulatory burdens that we placed on business. We need to roll those back in a systematic way that makes us once again restore the New Hampshire advantage economically. Get the cars turned around on 93 and Route 3, bring them back so our people aren't leaving the state to work. They can work right here and make us fulfill our potential of being the best place to live, the best place to work, the best place to raise a family, and the best place to do business. That's why I'm running for governor. I seek your support. HavensteinForGovernor.com I think still works. And I ask you for two things. I ask you for your vote, and I ask you for your voice. Alan talked about let's get Republicans elected this fall. That means we have to share our voice with others, whether it's our neighbors, our friends, people in the diner, people in the grocery store line. This is a great opportunity for us to change the direction of New Hampshire. Frankly, it's a great opportunity for New Hampshire to help change the direction of our country. Thank you for your time this evening, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Walt. Walt, would you be willing to take some questions up here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Crop TV.